Okay, so here we go. You guys have been doing the values in the hair and the clothing and everything, and I told you to look at different shapes, right? So, for the eyes, we're going to kind of do the same thing here. A lot of people do not typically add all the values of the eyes, so they usually look either too big or too small, okay? So once you kind of lay down the outline of just the inside part of this eye, I want to show you how to add the values, and it's mainly going to be inside of that outline you drew, okay? So I will typically start with the corners of the eyes. So by adding like darker values on the outside corners and then the inside corners, it makes it look three-dimensional because that eyeball is kind of the farthest thing out, and then it goes back into the corners, okay? So if I look at this picture here, almost half of this shape, not quite half, let's say maybe a third of it, is pretty much just a dark or medium tone. You guys see that? So all I'm gonna do over here is just kind of mark that area, and I'm just gonna fill that in with my B pencil. I'm gonna go a medium value, that way I can make it darker later if I need to. Then I see a little bit of what would be the white of the eye, but it's not completely white on my paper, so I'm going to go back and add a little bit of gray with my blending stump later. Here's where the iris starts, so I'm going to draw kind of like a rounded line here. Okay. Down in here, we see a tiny bit of the other side of the white of the eye, but not much. So I'm going to go ahead and add kind of like a triangle shape here. And then we do see some white spots where the light is reflecting off of his eyes. So I will typically go in and just kind of outline where those kind of fall so I don't fill them in. Okay, then I'm just going to add kind of as dark as I can in the middle. If you guys have people with lighter eyes, so they really have like a blue or a green or a hazel, then what you would do is use a blending stump and fill that in. But since his eyes are brown, I'm just basically going to shade them kind of the same tone here. Okay. Now, one of the things that people go kind of light on is the outline of the eye. So if you look, there's kind of like a shadow from that upper eyelid. So what I'm going to do is just darken. This is all within that original outline I had. I'm building inward. And then I'm going to go a little bit thicker here. And then I'm going to do that not quite as dark on the bottom. Like so. Now I'm going to grab my blending stump to kind of finish it up here. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit more here in this corner. Like so. Alright, so then as you move kind of outward from the eye, in order to create this illusion that that bottom eyelid is kind of coming out, and then we have, I always call them like the bags under the eyes, we need to create that shadow there. So be careful because you don't want to make it too dark. And then I'm going to go ahead and erase this grid line. I would erase your grid lines as you go, especially once you get like on the face where they're lighter values. Sometimes in the hair and the clothes you can't always see them, you just draw over them. But okay, so I'm going to leave a little bit of space right underneath the outline of the inner eye, and then I'm going to create, it's almost like a U shape here. And then really it runs kind of right into his glasses. Okay. Above his eye, there's maybe a little bit of a shadow kind of in here. And then as it kind of goes back, there's a little shadow here on the side of his face. And then the rest of it's pretty consistent, I would say. So as you guys start thinking about like skin tones, look at some of the values that you already have like on your paper. So for his face, I don't want to go as dark as I did there in the hair, right? His skin tone is a little bit lighter than what I did with the hair, especially with his jacket. I don't want to go that dark. So keep that in mind as you're adding value. I had a couple kids last period who made some of the shadows on the face too dark, and then they kind of messed up when they went back to erase. It was hard to erase, so then you're stuck with that dark shadow still on your paper. So I would always just kind of go light. Even on this shadow, I want to add maybe a little bit more. I see kind of a darker part like right in there. So you can always go back and make those lighter values darker, but it's hard to do the opposite. Okay? Does this make sense to you guys? Awesome.